When Breath of the Wild was announced, it definitely had me interested, but to be fair, I think it was just how crazy the initial trailer was at the end. But as soon as we got more information and when more trailers came out, I was definitely far more interested just because I wanted to see how they would handle a Zelda game in an open world format. And considering basically almost every other Zelda game was extremely linear, I was again just really interested. But we couldn't see that until a good while later, especially since it got delayed so much. But with this video, I kind of want to talk about whether it held up to me, even though that there were a lot of delays. And with the first point, I really do love how great this game looks. This of course is accounting for both the Switch and Wii U version, since I don't think there's a major difference other than a slight resolution texture bump, and with the Switch version also just having better frame rates overall. But regardless, I think the visual style definitely is in my top 3, and the other two obviously being Wind Waker and Skyward Sword, and the graphics are also really good for a late Wii U and early Switch title. But considering the fact that I would imagine the two titles aren't like much graphically different, I know that the Switch port has like 900p when docked, or at least can go up to that. But regardless, it's really clear that Nintendo made sure to polish this up considering the fact that it was releasing on two different pieces of technology. I also really enjoy the world itself. It's just really fun to explore and mess around in. I feel a big part of this is that you can climb basically everything, and to me that really was kind of fun because having few limitations on getting to different locations is insanely fun, and there was a lot to ground to cover. I also liked how there were a ton of small locations that you can get to, and usually they have something interesting of note, whether that's a shrine, a strong weapon, or whatever else. There also might be a town nearby, or maybe even a massive dragon in the distance, and I can say that one definitely interested me because I remember seeing the Thunder Dragon and wondered if there was more out there, and I also remember seeing the Ice Dragon. I did that side quest and that was insanely cool, and I really do like how this game has like a lot to look forward to and just really cool stuff if you look at every inch of it. Another really great part of the game definitely has to be the sheer amount of options you have when it comes to gear and side effects that you can stack upon yourself. Say for example you can end up stacking a bunch of attack buffs to make sure you can kill enemies faster, or just go the opposite way and go with a bunch of defense. This thing kinda was in Skyward Sword with you being able to drink potions to help you run for longer, but this was taken to the next level and I really love that. It's also really sick in how you can progress through the main story in any way you like. It's extremely open and can make each playthrough more unique. For example, you can just end up doing 2 of the Divine Beast first, or maybe just go test yourself against Ganon without doing any of them. For me, I actually ended up doing the Goron, Zoa, Rito, and then Gerudo on my first playthrough. But after knowing which ones I sort of struggled with on my first playthrough, I can just do those ones first and then get out of the way earlier. Or better yet, I could say maybe go to the Rito area and get Rivali's Gale to help with traveling, and that way I don't struggle as much early on. There's a lot of thought in how you go through the main story, and it's definitely one of the best aspects, at least to me. And overall, this is a really interesting and fun title to play, mostly just because it's far more open and it's more in line with the original Zelda game on the NES. From all the cool little secrets in the world to just experimenting with different ways to fight different enemies, I again still had a lot of fun, and this is coming from a guy who isn't the biggest fan of open world games. But regardless, they're all of course some things that I still didn't really enjoy, and some of the things I still do wish that was fixed in the second game. And one of these things definitely has to be the dungeons, because to me they were mostly easy and I felt they were pretty short, and that kind of sucks because there's only 4, and the last time we had 4 dungeons that was in Majora's Mask, and I would argue that those dungeons are a lot better than the ones here. In this case, you can actually move the Divine Beast and change a part of them. For example, with the Rito one, you can actually tilt it on its sides and stuff like that. I just find really easy just because again, you mostly just have to realize when do you have to move the Divine Beast, and then you just complete that puzzle and then go do the other side, and that's again not the biggest challenge to me. And visually they pretty much look the same, and I get why, just because again they are the Divine Beast and they all just are big machines, but that doesn't really mean that they can't look visually different on the inside. Like they could just be made of different material and whatever else, and all that just kind of sucks to me. I also found the bosses to be super underwhelming, and I also mostly found them easy again, and they mostly just have 1 or 2 attacks that's different from each other. They mostly just move around fast in the stage, and you may need to use a certain Sheikah Slate power, but I've noticed you don't really need them to fully beat the boss. It's just kinda helpful. And they also look visually the same, which I can understand, like the dungeons, but again, this kind of just sucks in the end because again, there's nothing to look forward to other than the same boss over and over again with a slightly different attack. I also didn't really enjoy the story as much, and to me, it's definitely not the worst, it's just extremely lackluster. I really don't like how you barely get to see much of the champions other than a cutscene or two in the main story, and I do know they're all side cutscenes, but again, they don't really do much there. It kind of sucks because I thought they were going to play a much bigger role, and I was kind of hoping, well, maybe, for example, you get to go back in the past, do a few stuff with them, and maybe just have a bunch of cutscenes where it leads up to their death, and then, it just feels like it would be a lot more impactful, to me at least. Then there's Zelda, well, she doesn't really do much other than stay at Hyrule Castle the entire game, and then you get to meet her at the very end, which again extremely sucks because some of those optional side cutscenes show her in a really good light because she actually gets to interact with Link and a lot of the other champions, but again, those are optional, and it's just kind of wish that you got to just see a lot of her more in the main story. It doesn't help considering the fact that every new area you go to, it's pretty much the same song and dance where you go meet someone related to the champion, do a random task to help them, get to the beast, and then do the beast, and then maybe have a cutscene or two of the champion somewhere in between. Again, I still do wish that we got to see more of the champions within the main story because right now it's just extremely lackluster and they don't really do much. But overall, I still think this game is super fun with exploring and doing the side stuff and just doing whatever the hell you want, because for my experience, that was fun, and seeing a lot of other people just do random stuff is just really cool. For the first open world Zelda, I still think this is very fun. And I'm also really hoping this ends up being like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, where Ocarina of Time ended up being really fun with some problems, and Majora's Mask improving on basically every aspect with what Ocarina of Time did wrong. And of course, I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below, so just leave them on whatever you liked and disliked, of course. But before we finish the video, let's go over my likes and dislikes. Likes, great graphics, fun exploration, huge amount of gear and side effects you can inflict on yourself, and really open for main story progression. Dislikes, uninteresting dungeons and uninteresting bosses, and the story is just not really all that good. Thank you all for watching, and see you guys later.